Today, under fact versus opinion, we are going to discuss about how to differentiate the fact from the opinion. In published research article, many times the author may imply certain conclusion, which is his opinion, which may not be based on the fact which is in the paper. So to understand or differentiate between this fact versus opinion, we should understand three major concepts in statistics. One is absolute risk, second is relative risk, and third is number needed to treat. As a patient or a physician, if you can able to appreciate and understand these three concepts, I think it would be easy for you to be able to understand the research paper and get the factual information from the research paper without going for an opinion which is being expressed by the media or the author themselves. So statistics is a very powerful tool, but it is also an intimidating science because most of the time the physician and the patients fail to understand the principle behind the statistics. So by giving some example, I will try to derive these three concepts, the absolute risk, relative risk and number needed to treat, so that patient and physician can able to understand what is really fact. Let's undertake a small trial which is being published, an imaginary trial published in the newspaper, and the patient bring the newspaper to your clinic and started arguing with you, doctor, there is a paper which is being published in the reputed newspaper which states patient with heart disease, if they take this particular drug, the risk of death because of heart attack reduced by 50%. Now it is a very impressive paper, because if any trial can tell you that your risk of heart attack is going to be 50% less, I think any patient would jump into the drug, and also all the physicians will start recommending the drug, because they're going to save almost 50% of the population with heart disease. And in fact, you're going to prevent very important complication of the heart disease, heart attack and death. Now, if you closely observe the trial, because having a risk reduction of 50%, even though it is impressive, you should know the entire data to correctly arrive at the decision. Now, let us look at the paper from where this 50% reduction came. So, if you look at the paper, they have compared two groups, each, let's say 100 patients. So, both the group of patients, group A and group B, are taking cardiac medications, standard cardiac medications. Now, the new drug is given to the group A population who are on standard medication, and the group B did not receive this drug. So the trial shows the group A who received the drug has only one patient died because of heart attack in 5 years. At the same time, the group B, who did not take this drug, had 2 heart attack death in the 5 years follow-up. So the trial says 50% risk reduction. Now if you closely see the trial, the absolute risk reduction, because 2 people died in the group which have not taken the drug, and only one person died in the group which have taken the medication. So the absolute risk reduction is 2 minus 1, which is 1%. So in fact, the drug has shown 1% reduction in cardiac death because of heart attack. Then how did the number 50% arrive? Now the 50% is actually called as a relative risk reduction. So you have to be very careful in differentiating between what is called absolute risk reduction and what is relative risk reduction. The relative risk reduction is got from the figure of ratio between the 1 and 2%. So the relative risk reduction is 50%, because one group 2 people died and one group only 1 people. So the relative risk reduction is 50%. Now even though 50% is it's very attractive, the absolute risk reduction is only 1%. So it implies if you are taking proper cardiac medication, the 5 years follow-up study shows already your risk of heart attack is very low. So taking another drug to reduce the low risk is not actually recommended, because the absolute risk reduction is only 1%. So this is how the factual information has been given in a different way to mislead the population, which is done by pharmaceutical company or policy makers. So statistics never lies, because number never lies. There is a famous saying, gun don't shoot people, people shoot people. So statistics will give you correct numbers and correct prediction, but it's a way of you interpreting the result will change from person to person. So this absolute risk reduction and relative risk reduction should be properly understood, which I have explained by the example. Now the third point is number needed to treat. So this is another dilemma in medical ethics or in medical research. When a patient approaches a physician, he wants to get treated by a drug and want to get cured. And that is what the physician also want to do. And then there is another thing called society or a policymaker or the pharmaceutical company. So all of them have different view of how the medicine should be prescribed. For a patient, they only care about themselves. They are going to a doctor, taking a medication, I should be cured. For the physician, even though they think similar to the patient, but their level of drug prescription is completely different from what patient is assuming that they are taking it. Now, let us take an example. A patient with a fever because of sinusitis goes to the doctor. So he wants to take a medication. Now the doctor decided, because he has a sinusitis and a fever, let me give a medication to him, an antibiotics. He prescribed the antibiotic. Now the patient thinks, if I take an antibiotics, 100% I will cure. And now the number needed to treat, it means the physician should know that he has to prescribe 10 people with a similar symptom, sinusitis and fever, with an antibiotic. And his assumption is, if we give 10 people with the antibiotics, only one patient will benefit from the antibiotic, other 9 people will not benefit from the antibiotic. Will not benefit from antibiotic means the other 9 would have cured even if the antibiotics is not prescribed, or the other 9 would have had some adverse effect of the antibiotic prescribed. So this is a correct scenario. So the number needed to treat patient with sinusitis and fever is it's 10. So he has to treat 10 people to get one benefit and 9 won't get benefit. But this is not a case in painkiller. For example, let us think a patient goes to the doctor with an absolute pain. When the patient goes there, the physician prepared to give a prescription of a painkiller, non-steroid anti-inflammatory drug, or just a painkiller. If he prescribe the painkiller, number needed to treat is 1. Every patient he prescribe a painkiller, every patient will reduce its pain. So now if you carefully see, the prescribed drug has a different effect for a painkiller and fever. Now, statistically or for the patient benefit, if you want to see, the number needed to treat should be around 1 or 5. You can treat 5 patients, at least 1 should benefit. But slowly this has been expanded into 10. So a pharmaceutical company can be happy with around 10 to 15, but in realistic it should be less than 5. But now it has come to the point, the number needed to treat has gone from 5 to 10 to even to 400, 200 and 1000 or 2000. For example, for statins, some of the drug the physician prescribed to reduce your chances of getting a heart attack by giving a drug called a statin. It requires sometimes 200 or 400 patients to be treated for one patient to get benefit, and remaining patient will only get the adverse effect. And if you go to aspirin, this requires almost 2000 patients, close to 1900 patients should be treated with aspirin to prevent one heart attack. So the number needed to treat is also very important. So here what is a dilemma happens. The patient thinks each and every drug he takes it benefit him. In fact, it is not. At the same time, the physician is prescribing for the society. So he thinks, if I prescribe this antibiotic for 10 people, so if I start giving it for 100 people, then 10 people will benefit from my antibiotics by reducing the fever and reducing the infection. At the same time, the policy maker, or just as the government think, if I put the entire society of 6 crores of people in antibiotic, then if there is a 10%, means 10 lakhs people will benefit, and remaining will only have the drug which no benefit. So this is a story about relative risk, absolute risk, and number needed to treat it. So as a physician and patient, without knowing the number, taking drugs or taking any procedures or any diagnostic procedure or interventional procedure, they should be very cautious.